This is K. Subbulakshmi, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research. I'm going to handle the course Microwave Theory and Techniques. In this video, we are going to discuss about passive and active microwave devices. So we will see about klystron. So klystron is a type of vacuum tube. So this klystron can be used as an amplifier as well as oscillators. So this klystron is used for amplifying signal in the microwave range. Also, this klystron can be used to generate frequencies in the microwave range. So this klystron works on the principle of velocity modulation. So this device can be used for amplifying microwave signal. That device is known as two-cavity klystron. So in the year 1937, American engineers Russell and Varian developed klystron. So we will discuss about the operating principle of klystron. So this klystron operates on the principle of velocity modulation. So this klystron, which generates a kinetic energy of moving electron, that kinetic energy of the moving electron beam is used for amplifying and generating microwave signals. So one more device which is called as traveling wave tube. So that is also used for amplification of RF signals. So this TWT, which has same application as klystrons. The main difference between TWT and klystron is that in case of DWT, that is traveling wave tube, a continuous interaction is maintained between the field and the electron beam. So, but in case of klystron, the interaction between the field and the electron beam occur only at the cavities of the structure. So there are two cavities, one is buncher and the catcher cavities. So only in that cavities, interaction between the field and the electron beam occurs. So this is the main difference between traveling wave tube and the klystron. So both comes under microwave tubes, that is traveling wave tube and klystron comes under microwave tubes. So it operates on the principle of velocity modulation. So moving electron beam inside the tube generates kinetic energy. That kinetic energy is used for amplifying and generating microwave signal. So this is the operating principle of klystron. So next we will discuss about the classification of klystron. Klystrons are majorly classified as two types. One is two cavity klystron and reflex klystron. In this video, we are going to discuss about two cavity klystron. So two cavity klystron, we are going to discuss about operating principle, construction, working and applications. So first we will discuss about the operating principle of two cavity klystron. So as I said earlier, two cavity klystron works based on the principle of velocity modulation. So the moving electron beam generates kinetic energy. So that kinetic energy is used for amplification as well as generating frequencies, generating oscillations. So the variation, what is meant by velocity modulation means the variation in the velocity of the electrons while moving inside the tube is known as velocity modulation. So because of this velocity modulation, bunching of electron takes place while propagation. So the combined energy of bunched electrons are transferred at the output, which provides an amplified signal. So this is the structure of two cavity klystron. Now we will discuss about the construction of two cavity klystron. See, in this structure, there are two cavities. This is the main part in this structure of two cavity klystron. One cavity is called as buncher cavity and the other cavity is called as catcher cavity. The distance between the two cavities are called as drift space, And this part is called as collector because all the electrons get collected here. So in order to collect all the electrons, this collector is supplied with the positive terminal of the battery. So this collector is applied to positive terminal so that it will attract the electrons. So it will get accumulated here. It will get collected at the collector. So there will be a magnet system here. So in order to focus the electron beam inside the tube. So which makes the electron beam longitudinal because of this magnet. Okay. So next here, the tube consists of heating element, cathode, and the focusing electrode and the anode. So this focusing electrode is meant for focusing the electron beam inside the tube. So RF input, which is to be amplified, so that will be applied to the buncher cavity, and the amplified version of the RF input signal will be taken as output from the catcher cavity. So this is the structure of two cavity klystron. So as I said, this two cavity klystron consists of two cavities, buncher and the catcher cavity. RF signal to be amplified is provided at the buncher cavity. So the electron gun comprises cathode, heating element and the anode. So the electron beam is produced by the cathode. So using this, by making use of the heating element, and high positive potential at the anode provides the required acceleration to the electron beam initially. So initially, electron beam acceleration is provided by the anode, that is this one. So this anode provides the acceleration of the electron beam inside the tube. So the region between two cavities is known as drift space. So to allow the focused propagation of the electron beam inside the tube, an external electromagnetic winding is used, so which generates longitudinal magnetic field. So this longitudinal magnetic field prevent the spreading of the beam inside the tube, and it allows electron beam to be focused inside the tube. So that is the main function of this external electromagnetic winding, that is this one. So external electromagnetic winding will make the beam to get focused inside the tube, and it avoids spreading of the beam. So next we will discuss about the working of two cavity klystron. So the whatever the amplified RF signal will be collected will be achieved at the catcher cavity. So here a collector is present near the second cavity. This is the collector. So this is the collector which is present near the catcher cavity. So that collects the electron bunch. So what happens initially, electrons are emitted from the electron gun, and the anode which is present in the structure provides the desired acceleration to the beam. So beam starts to accelerate inside the tube. So if we didn't apply any RF input, what happens? The electrons will tend to move with uniform velocity, that is uniform speed. So if we didn't apply any RF input, then electron will move with uniform velocities, and it reaches the catcher cavity and then gets collected at the collector. So if we didn't apply any RF input, so this heating element generates electrons beam. So that electron beam is accelerated by this anode. So electron beams reaches the buncher cavity, then catcher cavity, then gets collected in the collector. So this process takes place when we didn't apply any. Also the electron will move with the same speed, all the electrons will move with the same velocity. So that is the velocity will not change if we didn't apply RF input. What happens if we applied RF input signal? So when the RF input signal is applied at the input of the buncher cavity, so this RF input signal causes the generation of electric field inside the tube. We know that this external signal consists of, it's a sine wave, so it consists of positive and negative half cycle. So we are going to discuss what happens to the electron which is moving inside the tube when when the positive half cycle is applied and also negative half cycle is applied. So this electric field causes the bunching of electrons as the field applies acceleration or deceleration. This two process takes place where either acceleration takes place or deceleration takes place to the moving electron. So this acceleration or deceleration based on the two halves of the input signal, that is positive half and negative half cycle. So according to the polarity of the signal by which the field is generated. So polarity in the sense positive half cycle or negative half cycle. So why the electrons experiences acceleration or deceleration is that, so when the direction of the movement of electron is opposite to the direction of the field which is applied, that is this direction of field is RF input signal. So then electron experiences a decrease in the moving velocity. If both the direction is opposite, then the electron experiences a decrease in their moving velocity. But if the generated electric field and the direction of movement of the electron are same, then the electrons experiences increase in their velocity of their movement. So this decrease in moving velocity is called as deceleration, and the increase in velocity of their movement is called as acceleration. So first, what happens when we apply negative half of the RF signal? So when the negative half of the RF signal is provided as the input to the buncher cavity, then the moving electrons will experience a repulsive force because the electron is also negative charge and we are applying negative half cycle. So both will repulse each other. So due to the presence of negative charge at the entering plate of the buncher cavity. So here the electron beam which is moving and the RF input is also, we are applying negative half of the input signal. So this is negative with positive. So both will repulse due to the negative half of the generated half of input. The generated field will be in direction opposite to the direction of the electrons. So because of this opposition offered by the field, the moving velocity of electrons get reduced. That is, it gets decelerated. So, but when the positive half cycle of the RF input, it is positive. So the positive potential of the first plate of the cavity, it applies an attractive force because this electron is negative charge. Here we are applying positive half cycle. So both attract each other. So the generated electric field will be in a direction similar to the direction of the electron movement. So this what happens when when we apply RF input signal to the buncher cavity. So we can say combinedly when we consider both the cases, that is for positive and negative half cycle of the RF input signal. So then the electrons were emitted earlier by the gun will be decelerated. So whatever the electrons which are emitted earlier from the electron gun, that will be decelerated, while the electrons emitted later will be accelerated. So we can say that all the electrons while moving with the different velocities get bunched in the drift space. So drift space is the space between the buncher and the catcher cavity. All the electrons which are moving with different velocities, that will get bunched in the drift space. So this change in velocity of electrons while moving, so why there is a change in velocity of electrons takes place? Because of the application of RF input signal. So that is known as velocity of modulation. So velocity of modulation means change in the velocity of electrons while moving due to the RF input is known as velocity modulation. So once the electron bunching is done, then the catcher cavity present at the another end of the tube absorbs the beam energy. So in the drift space, all the electrons get bunched, then this energy will be absorbed in the catcher cavity. That is which is present next to the drift space. So in order to find the position of the catcher cavity, transit time of the bunches must be considered. So the catcher cavity must be present at a sufficient distance from the buncher cavity so that bunching can be attained in a drift space. Only when the bunching is attained in a drift space, then the energy will be fully absorbed by the catcher cavity. So once the energy is transferred to the catcher cavity, then electrons with lower energy gets collected in the collector. So next to the catcher cavity is the collector. So once the energy is transferred to the catcher cavity, then electrons with lower energy gets collected in the collector. So this is described by the Applegate diagram. So the Applegate diagram represents the bunching of electrons which are moving with different velocities. So this is the Applegate diagram. So x-axis is the time and y-axis is the distance. So this is the RF input signal which is applied. This is the electron which has been moving inside the tube. So the electron velocities of the electron differs. Some electrons which are slower or decelerated takes more time to reach the drift space. So electrons which are accelerated, it takes only the negative half cycle of the input signal, the velocity gets reduced. So the electron slowly it reaches the buncher cavity, but positive half of the input signal, electrons are accelerated, so it reaches quickly. But all the electrons get bunched at one place. So this is the Applegate diagram. So the electron traveling, which is inside the tube under the absence of the external field, acts as the bunching setter. Also, the electron which is moving due to the influence of positive half cycle signal, the signal reaches faster. So while the movement due to negative half cycle, the signal is retarded or it becomes slower. So this figure represents the bunching process at a certain point and at a specific distance inside the tube. So this is the operation of the two cavity klystron. So now we will discuss about the applications. This two cavity klystron find applications in satellite communication, ultra high frequency TV transmitters, as well as radar systems, wideband high power communication, and troposphere scatter transmitter, etc. So next we are going to discuss about directional coupler. Directional coupler is a type of microwave passive device. So this directional coupler is a passive network which is used to measure the microwave power that is delivered to the load. So this directional coupler is mainly used for measuring the microwave power which is delivered to the load. So this is a waveguide. It consists of 4 ports. This is port 1, port 2, port 3 and port 4. So this directional coupler allows the determination of delivered power to the load from power actually being transmitted by the source. So this is the structure of the directional coupler. This port 1 and port 2 are called as main arm and this is called as auxiliary arm or auxiliary output, and there will be a hole based on the type of directional coupler. Here there is a hole between port 1 and port 2 for auxiliary output. So whenever any transmitting unit transmits certain amount of power, so then it becomes necessary to have an idea about whether complete power is received or some value of lower or higher than the original is transmitted. So the power which is transmitted is fully received or not. In order to check, we are using directional coupler. So this directional coupler is mainly used for finding or determining the amount of power which is received at the load. So here we are going to discuss about two-hole directional coupler. This two-hole directional coupler is a device in which two connected waveguides have two holes present between them. So one waveguide is primary main waveguide while the other is said to be auxiliary waveguide. So this is the two-hole directional coupler. Here two holes are there. So this is the main arm and these are the auxiliary arm. And this is the isolated port and this is port 4 is coupled port and port 1 is the input port and port 2 is the output port. We will see what happens when a microwave signal is transmitted from port 1 to port 2. So when a microwave signal is to be transmitted from port 1 to port 2, so two slots, namely A and B, are present here. So when the signal is transmitted inside the main waveguide, so on passing through slot a part of the energy gets radiated towards the auxiliary waveguide. Then the remaining portion of the energy will be proceeds towards the slot B. So when we apply input signal here, a part will be entering into the auxiliary waveguide or auxiliary arm, and the remaining will be proceeded at the output port 2. So some part of the wave proceeding towards the output gets radiated towards the auxiliary waveguide again through the second hole. So both the time when the wave reaching the auxiliary waveguide travels in a forward direction and backward direction, that is towards port 4 and towards port 3. So the wave that travels in auxiliary waveguide towards port 4 will be in phase with the signal in the main waveguide. So this causes reinforcement of the signal. While the wave which is traveling towards port 3 will be 180-degree out of phase with the original transmitted signal. So the signal at the port 3 due to both the slots cancel each other because they are 180-degree out of phase with each other. So they cancel each other. So this port 3 is generally known as isolated port. So port 1 is the input port, port 2 is the output port, and port 4 is called as coupled port. Because port 3, both the signals will be cancelled each other. So it is called as isolated port. So these are the four ports. PI is the four different ports. Power can be specified as PI is input power, PO means output power, PB means backward power, PF means forward coupled power. So here we are going to see four fundamental parameters which is used for analyzing the performance of the directional coupler. So those fundamental parameters are coupling factor, directivity, isolation, and return loss. So coupling factor. So this coupling factor can be defined as the ratio of input power to the forward power. So that is denoted as C, that is which is equal to 10 log to the base 10 Pi divided by Pf. This Pi is known as input power and this Pf is known as forward coupled power. Then we will discuss about directivity. So directivity of the coupler is determined on the basis of forward and backward power in auxiliary waveguide. So we can define this directivity as D is equal to 10 log 10 Pf divided by Pb. So this Pf is called as forward coupled power and this Pb is called as backward power. Next we are going to discuss about isolation. So this isolation is defined as the ratio of input power to at the main waveguide to the backward power at the auxiliary waveguide. So this isolation can be defined as I is equal to 10 log to the base 10 Pi divided by Pb. Last parameter is return loss. So this return loss is defined as the ratio of actually transmitted power to the received power at the main waveguide. So next we will discuss about the scattering matrix of directional coupler. So scattering matrix for directional coupler is defined by the 4x4 matrix. Here, whichever port it allows the power, that alone is defined. Remaining is 0. So S11 is not possible. S13, S22, S24, S31, 33 is not possible. So remaining on all 0. So according to the identity property, S into S conjugate is equal to 1. So this is written in terms of identity property. So we know that forward power is between port 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So S12 is equal to S3, which is equal to P. So forward power is denoted by P. The coupled power is between 1, 4 and 2, 3. So which is denoted by Q. So in the scattering matrix, if we replace this P forward power in terms of P and coupled power in terms of Q, then we will get this matrix. This is the scattering matrix of the directional coupler. Next, we will discuss about the applications. So this is mainly used to measure the transmitted and the reflected power along with the measuring voltage standing wave ratio values. So this directional coupler, it provides the path to the signal towards the receiver, and this directional coupler is used for the purpose of unidirectional wave launching. So this is about scattering matrix of the directional coupler. Next, we will discuss about magic T. So this magic T is a combination of E-plane and H-plane waveguide T. So this magic T is otherwise called as hybrid T. So this magic T is a 4-port waveguide T. So which is a combination of E-plane and H-plane. So this is port 1, port 2, port 3 and port 4. So port 3 is called as difference arm and port 4 is called as sum port. So port 1 and 2 are collinear, port 3 is difference port and port 4 is sum port. So we are going to see 3 cases. This is the operation of magic T. So we are going to see 3 cases. What happens when we apply signal via port 1 and 2, port 3 and port 4. So if we apply signal via port, if the two signals of equal magnitude is fed from port 1 and 2, then since port 3 is the difference port, it finds the difference between two signals. So both the signal cancel each other. So the output will be 0. But since port 4 is the sum port, it finds the distance sum of two signals and we will get the sum of two signals at the port 4. When a signal is fed through port 4, it gets divides equally between port 1 and 2. So both the signals which are divided equally between port 1 and 2 are in phase. That is, both the outputs are in phase and there won't be any output from the port 3. That is, if you apply a signal via port 4, then the signal gets divided equal in magnitude and also in phase between port 1 and 2, and there won't be any signal at port 3. Similarly, if your input signal is applied at port 3, then the signal is equally divided in magnitude, but the phase will be opposite. So whatever the signal which is obtained at the port 1 and port 2 are opposite with each other. But there won't be any signal at port 4. This is the 3 cases. So a magic T is ideally lossless, and the disadvantage of magic T is reflection occurs because of impedance mismatch between the ports. So due to this impedance mismatch, sometimes power loss occur. So this reflections can be minimized by optimizing matching. So in this session, we have discussed about two cavity klystron, then directional coupler and magic T. So we have discussed operation, construction of all the 3 devices. Thank you.